take to realize what's going on? How many years have gone by? When will I reach the finish line? Does it ever end? Is there some reason to all of this? Bit by bit, to all of this. Bit by bit, to all of this. Bit by bit, to all of this. Bit by bit.
The Lighthouse of Alexandria. Built in the island of Pharos in 290 BC, the Lighthouse of Alexandria took 20 years to be completed and was the tallest human-made construction, only behind the Great Pyramid. If it was built today, the cost of its construction would be over $3 million. The architect Sostratus was responsible for the work and wanted to mark his name under the construction. However, the son of the pharaoh, Ptolemy, mayor of the city of Alexandria, denied his request. Sostratus then wrote his name and covered it with plaster. Over the cover he wrote the name of Ptolemy. With the passing of the years, the plaster began to tear, revealing the writings. Sostratus, son of Desiphanes of Cnidus, to all sailors and God Almighty. At the top of the first lighthouse in the world burned a flame, reflected by a mirror, possibly made of bronze. It is said that the beam of light could be seen at night and the smoke at day, guiding ships as far as 160 kilometers. The lighthouse also worked as an overlook, allowing tourists to climb its 140 meters through a set of stairs in its interior. At its top stood a statue of Poseidon, god of the seas, and in each of its four corners were statues of Triton, son of Poseidon. According to Egyptian records, the lighthouse fell in 1375 due to several earthquakes. Many of its ruins stood there until they were used as part of the construction of a fort that still exists. The name of the island Pharos inspired the Latin word pharaoh that is still used to this day to represent lighthouses. The Temple of Artemis was built in the town of Ephesus, presently Selçuk, in Turkey, and is a homage to the goddess Artemis, goddess of the hunt, the moon, archery, forests, and hills. The temple was built for the first time around the 8th century before Christ, being destroyed by a flood less than a century later. The reconstruction began in the 5th century and took 10 years to be completed, being destroyed again in the year 356 BC. In 323 BC, its construction began again, bigger and higher than its predecessors. This version was then considered by Antipater of Sidon as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The temple was 137 meters long, 69 meters high, and 18 meters wide, had more than 127 columns, and a statue of the goddess Artemis, sculpted by Endoas, a Daedalus pupil. The temple survived for 600 years, and in AD 268, the temple was destroyed by a Goth attack. The columns were used in other constructions, including the Hagia Sophia. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon are the most mysterious of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Due to lack of evidence, it has been suggested that the gardens were just a myth, but Roman and Greek records suggest that it was destroyed around the 1st century before Christ. Probably built by Nebuchadnezzar II in 600 BC, it was a symbol of pride to the Babylonian people and a major engineering achievement. Legend says that the gardens were built for the king's wife, who missed her homeland, the mountainous regions of Medos. So the king built the gardens like a mountain, with several floors filled with water and plants. The engineers had the task of bringing water from the Euphrates River to the highest point of the garden, as pumps were not yet invented. To bring the water all the way up to the top of the garden, the engineers probably used a device called Archimedes' screw, but this is also a mystery, since the device invented by Archimedes would only be invented 300 years later. New studies suggest that, in fact, the gardens were built by a Syrian king, Sennacherib, in his palace in Nineveh, close to the Tigris River, where nowadays Iraq is located. The Pyramid of Cheops, or Khufu, also known as the Great Pyramid of Giza, is the largest of the 3 pyramids of the Giza Pyramid Complex bordering what nowadays is El Giza in Egypt. It is the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the only one that still stands today. Some believe that the pyramid was built to serve as burial site during the 4th Egyptian dynasty for the pharaoh Cheops in 10 to 20 years, around 256 BC, initially 146.5 meters high. The pyramid was the tallest structure made by men for over 3,800 years, until the construction of the Lincoln Cathedral in England. Some say that the Pyramid of Giza was built to hold the mortal remains of pharaohs, the rulers of Egypt, and that a part of their spirits, named Ka, would stay within their corpses forever. Certain procedures were made to the body so the pharaoh could execute his new tasks as king of the dead. According to this theory, the pyramid not only served as a tomb, but as a holding cell to all the items necessary to perform this duty. The ancient Egyptians believed that death on earth was just the beginning of a journey to the next world, and the body of the pharaoh was buried inside the pyramid to protect him and allow his ascension to the afterlife. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus was a tomb built between 353 and 350 BC in the town of Halicarnassus, presently the city of Bodrum in Turkey, for the burial of MAUSOLEUM, a satrap of the Persian Empire, and his sister wife Artemis II of Caria. Developed by the architects Satyros and Pythias of Priene, the mausoleum stood approximately 45 meters tall, adorned in all its surroundings by sculptures in relief made by Greek sculptors, and at the top, a colossus quadriga, a chariot drawn by 4 horses, with figures of Mausolus and his sister wife Artemisa. The structure was so triumphant that Antipater of Sidon identified it as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The mausoleum was destroyed by several earthquakes between the 12th and 15th centuries and was the 6th and last of the wonders to be destroyed. Because of this architectural wonder, the word mausoleum is used to represent any tomb built above the ground. Colossus of Rhodes. Nothing like a boat ride. We are in the Aegean Sea, something common for the Greek around the year 280 BC. Another common thing was the constant state of war between the different Greek cities. The city we are going to visit now is Rhodes, located on the island with the same name, also known for housing one of the most impressive wonders of the ancient world, the Colossus of Rhodes. It is known that in the year 304 BC, the town of Rhodes was attacked by King Demetrius of Cyprus. His army had colossal war machines known as Helopolis, the takers of cities. Huge siege towers built on boats. They were 45 meters high and took 200 soldiers to move. When under attack, the soldiers from Rhodes managed to trap one of these towers by digging a moat and filling it with water. Trapping the tower in the mud, defeated, Demetria withdrew his forces, leaving the tower behind. To honor their patron, Helios, god of the sun, the people of Rhodes built a statue in homage using the siege tower as base, covering it in the bronze of the weapons left by the attackers, a grandiose symbol of their lively port. The statue stood for 54 years until 226 BC, when an earthquake caused its partial destruction. The Colossus fell on its knees, but for 800 more years, it continued to amaze. In AD 653, an Arab force under Muslim command captured the city, melted the statue, and sold the bronze to a Jew who needed 900 camels to carry it. Many believe that this scene resembles the metaphor of Nebuchadnezzar's dream, the destruction of a giant statue with thighs made of bronze. Temple of Zeus. Located in the Greek town of Olympia, the Temple of Zeus was built between the years of 472 and 456 before Christ, and was a classic model of the Doric order in Greek architecture. The temple held the famous statue of Zeus, god of gods and men, god of the skies, lightning, and thunder, who maintains order and justice according to Greek mythology. The statue is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The statue is approximately 13 meters high and was made by the sculptor Phidias, using the chryselephantine technique, which uses gold and ivory. Phidias developed a unique technique to mold the ivory, making sheets in the several shapes that composes the statue. The work took 12 years to be completed. In his right hand, Zeus held a statue of goddess Nike, the goddess of victory, and in his left hand a staff made of several types of metal, supporting an eagle. The statue was one of the most revered works of art of the Greek classical period. It is said that it was moved to Constantinople, where it was destroyed by a fire.
Lives does it take to realize what's going on? How many years have gone by